Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts, Tom Vassell and Sam Healy.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vassell.
Sam Healy, what's up folks? Welcome back.
Today we're taking a look at Star Wars Legion. This is, I think, the 6th property game line that Fantasy Flight has done. They've done a card game, they've done a dice game, they've done a miniature, the X-Wing game, Armada, the big capital ship game, and then Star Wars Imperial Assault, and now we have Star Wars Legion. Well, I guess they also did Star Wars Rebellion, which was the whole thing. That's mostly a board game. This is definitely a line of games, as in you can buy this and you can play with this, but this is not enough to go on. Because the full game isn't even in the box. It just gives you started. This is a miniatures game. This is taking stormtroopers and running around, pew, 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 and fighting Darth Vader, and I am your father.
Stormtroopers are fighting Darth Vader.
And then these guys, yeah, that's the kind of game this is.
Okay.
You know you want to do that sort of thing forever.
I did, yes.
Okay, so anyway, we're going to take a look at it. But before we get into this, I want to kind of come at where we're coming from with this. Sam is a more miniatures gamer than I am. You're not like...
I'm not heavy into it. No.
But we both played miniatures in the past. We both played Warhammer 40,000. You've played other miniature games besides that. But we're both more heavily into board games. But this is definitely a miniatures game. All right, it's
absolutely.
This is not a board game.
No
This is a miniatures game. Let's take a closer look. Now, I'm not going to explain every possible thing that can happen in this game or a full detailed description of the game, but I want to give you an idea of how this game works. First of all, you need to realize that in this base box of Star Wars Legion, you get a lot of units, and you get some pretty cool units like these speeder bikes and, you got Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. You get enough to play a basic game, but you don't get enough to play a full game. For that, you'll need 2 boxes of the base game, or you'll need to buy some of the expansions. This is a standard battle setup that's shown in the book, and you can, when I count the different figures that it shows here, it looks like it's 2 full base boxes plus a couple extra speeder bikes and vehicles for the rebels. And the way you're going to pick scenarios is through a series of cards, and players are going to be picking basically how the deployment is going to be for the different sides. They're going to pick what the mission itself is going to be and what the weather conditions are. And so between the 2 players, they're going to be eliminating different cards until you have like a mission that you both have some part in creating. Each player is going to build an army of 800 points. So you're going to be picking unit cards, and these are the units that are included in the base set. So if I want to take a squad of 4 rebel troopers, that costs me 40 points. If I want to take 1 ATRT, that costs me 55 points. 2 speeder bikes cost me 90 points. So you have these different things. Also, each of the cards comes with upgrade things on them. So for example, if I want to add another rebel trooper, this is another 10 points. I can add that because there's a guy over here. Or maybe I want to add a Z6 trooper. This is a trooper with a special gun that can be added. And then that's going to cost me another 22 points. And so you can add possibly different guns like this to the different squads. You can add upgrades. So maybe I want to give force push to Darth Vader. And so these are going to cost extra points too. And so you're going to take the models and set them up based on the mission that you've decided with your opponent that you're going to do. So taking a closer look here at the unit cards, they have different stats on them. One of the most important stats to notice is the speed. You'll notice there's 1, 2, or 3 speed. It's the red lines that it shows on each of these. And that shows basically what movement template you're going to use when moving those figures. And so we have a 3, a 2, and a 1 template. Movement in this game is fairly simple. If it's a vehicle, you're going to simply take the vehicle and you're going to put the movement template. This one moves at a 2, so I'd put this here in the slot and I hold it there and I just move it around and then it moves like that. It moves to the other end of the slot. So it's pretty simple to move those. Troop movements move the same way. You'll have maybe a group of troops, and you'll move their leader along the movement template, and then when you're done moving the leader, from that leader in a one movement template, you simply just place the rest of the troops that are in that unit. So it's pretty easy to move the different people. So movement's one stat on each of the character cards. There's also going to be attack values. It will show you at the bottom what weapons they have. So Darth Vader has 6 red dice. When he attacks, the speeder bikes can have 1 weapon, where they can shoot from in a range of 1 to 2 black dice, or they can shoot a 1 to 3, a red, black, and white die. However, this can only be shot from the front of their vehicles in their front arc. The different vehicles that you have different arcs on them, and some weapons will only shoot out of different arcs. When attacking, you're going to be making an attack pool of the dice that you have. So if you have stormtroopers and they each get a white die for attacking, and I have 4 stormtroopers, I would get 4 of the white dice, but maybe one of them has a different weapon, and I might give the dice for that weapon, whatever it is. When you attack, you're going to be rolling your dice. You will be able to do regular hits and critical hits. Your opponent, whoever you attack, is going to be rolling a die for each hit that you get, and they're trying to roll shields. So these 6-sided dice, and there's different types of 6-sided dice, whites and reds, different defensive values, and different types of attack dice. And these are going to block the different hits. You also have other things like dodging and cover, which have a chance to block regular hits, but do not block the critical hits. And then when you take hits, you're going to take damage, and so on and so forth. There are other stats that might possibly be on a trooper. So for example, the stormtroopers here, when they are attacking, if they roll this symbol here, they are going to get an extra hit. So those change to hits, and they might change to different things on different characters. Like the speeder bikes, they can change them to hits, or they can change them to defense. And then the different things will have special abilities. You can see Darth Vader has a whole pile of abilities. He has a chance to deflect the hit back to the opponents. He's immune to pierce, and sometimes on the back it will even tell you some of the things they have. Like he has Impact 3, which will help him get through shields of a vehicle, because for vehicles you normally need critical hits to get through to them. And so most of these special abilities are going to be written directly on the cards. The game itself is going to take place over 6 rounds, kept track of with this marker. Each player is going to have 7 command cards, and at the beginning of each round you're going to play one of these command cards. And with the exception of the standing orders, when you play a command card, you're not going to get it back. The 2 command cards, let's say me and my opponent, he plays Master of Evil, and my ally is the Force. Whoever has the lower number of pips here is going to go first. If not, you roll a die basically to see who goes first. And then you're going to activate troopers that it says on the card. This one says 2 troopers. This says Darth Vader in 2 units, which means this command card can only be used if Darth Vader's in the battle. So each player is going to have a commander in the base that it's Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. And you have to be within range 1 or 2. By the way, a long range ruler is included with the game for ranges 1 through 4. And when you activate units, they need to be within a certain range of your leader. When you activate a unit, you're going to place an activation token of that type near that unit. All your units are going to have a chance to go each round, but the ones that you don't activate are going to be shuffled. And so players will take turns going back and forth, and you can activate a unit that you have a token of on the board, and when you're done activating them, you turn that token over, or you can draw the top one here and activate a unit of that type. And so you're not always quite sure if you have these cards randomly, I mean the tokens randomly down, which units you're going to be able to use if you pull them from that stack. Also, these command cards might give certain of your units special abilities. When you activate a unit, you get 2 actions with that unit. You can move, you can attack, you can recover, you can dodge, which means you put a dodge token next to the character, and you'll get to re-roll. You can get rid of a hit, a non-critical hit against you. You can aim, which lets you re-roll 2 dice in your dice pool. And so players are going to have to decide, am I going to move? Am I going to attack? There's different rules about attacking when you do attack. Line of sight is basically from the top of a figure to the top of another figure, and if it's blocked by cover, the defending unit's going to get cover based on what kind of unit they are, and then you roll dice and see what happens. And you're going to just keep doing this. Now, in the very basic game the book teaches, you're just trying to destroy the enemy. But other than that, you're going to go by whatever the parameters of the mission are. And that's basically the general gist of the game. There's other things like suppression, being able to pin people down. There's lots of tokens included for different things that might happen. And of course, you can expand the game by buying bigger and cooler miniatures that you might want to use in bigger battles. And they're going to have a whole slew of them that are coming out at the same time as the launch, and I'm sure more will come out in the future. And each of those comes with their own cards, possibly more commanders who come with the command cards that you can use. But that's basically how the miniature game works. Again, you can probably go online and look at the full rule book. I didn't cover every little detail, but this gives you some idea. Okay, so we're going to talk about several different things here because there's a lot going on to talk about. The first thing is the miniatures themselves. The game comes with there's a lot of miniatures in this box, for sure.
Yeah.
These barricades, there's several of them in a box. These come in one piece. The rest of the miniatures, Sam put together, so I'll pass it off to you as to how these work.
Well, there's a lot of people out there that are saying that you don't need glue to put these miniatures together, and I have to kind of say false on that one. I guess, yeah, you could fit them together without glue. However, getting them on those bases without glue...
Do the bases have holes in them?
Have fun with that. No, they don't.
So they would just stand on the base?
Well, until you want to pick them up. And
then you have to have glue.
You have to have glue.
You have to have glue if that's the case.
You have to have glue, at least for the bases. Now, some people are saying that you don't need them to put the actual models together, and that might be true on some of them. However, models like this guy right here, no, you have to have glue for this model. For this model right here, this is actually an expansion set. This is not in the core. You need glue for this. You need glue for a lot of the different models. So you need glue. They just don't pop together like some people are wanting to propagate out there. So that is that. With that having been said, these are pretty decent models.
Are they easy to put together?
They are simple to put together. I put the entire base box together in one afternoon, which isn't that long of a time, especially for an entire base starter set. The detail of the models are all really good, especially, you know, they're along the same lines as what you would expect out of an Imperial Assault or something to that effect, where they do have a lot of definition, they do have a lot of detail, and painting them will probably be very fun. But to say that you don't need glue to put this base set together, that's not true.
Also, we should note that the pieces come in bags. They do not come on sprues, which I thought was a cool thing, but you were not as keen on that.
Well, I guess I'm just a little bit more nervous. If it comes on a sprue, then I know it's not going to go anywhere. And as long as I keep a hold of that sprue, I can clip pieces off of it as I'm about to glue them on. So there's a lower chance, if they come on a sprue, that you'll lose pieces. Now again, they are in baggies, so it's not like you're gonna open the box and magically lose some stuff. But there's always more possibility if it's not on a sprue that you're going to lose something. But we didn't, so I guess it's just me being nervous.
The game has a lot of counters. But there's not a lot of pieces. Fortunately, it's mostly just dice and the miniatures. But I gotta give the game a fairly big negative, component-wise, because the miniatures look great on the dice. And the fact is, in this game, you need to roll a lot of dice. There's 3 colors of 8-sided dice and 2 colors of 6-sided dice, and I believe there's 3 of every die.
Right.
Darth Vader rolls 6 dice. A Stormtrooper squad is rolling 5 dice, which means you consistently have to roll the dice twice. And you're like, well, why are you whining, Tom? That's a big deal, especially when you get a certain number of hits. You got to keep the hit. You know, it's good to leave the hits out there, and it just gets clunky. Normally, I would be kind of annoyed if I'm having to pass the dice to the other player all the time. I would want to buy an extra dice set to not do that.
Right.
Even that's not going to work in this game. I bought an extra dice set, I'd be like, you got to get your own. You know, I'm not sharing these with you because it's barely enough for me here. And I really feel like
there isn't enough for you there. That's the thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I bought an extra dice set, then that's enough for one player. One player.
Right.
And I'm not going to, you know, so I just felt like they really cut a corner there. Everything else about the game, I mean, I guess if you bought 2 base boxes of the game,
right? Which they're certainly angling for you to do that.
It's going to happen, yeah. People are.
Well, maybe not though, because you don't need 2 Vaders and 2 Lukes. So maybe they just want you to buy the extra stuff. But I want extras of these so that we can both use them. I want extras of the dice and. Well, and maybe extra counters, but again, some of that stuff comes in the extra sets. There's a lot of stuff out for this coming out at the launch.
I think you have more than enough counters. I think the main thing that this box is really missing is there are not enough dice. That is the main thing that this box is missing. Everything else is fine for a starter set. But when you don't have enough dice for one person to roll all of their dice at one time, that's kind of not cool. And
this is probably me speaking as a board gamer as opposed to a miniature gamer. I'm not thrilled with the idea that this is not enough to really play the game.
Well,
you can play a base game, but some of the aspects of the game, like the tokens, and the orders of the tokens, that doesn't really mean anything when you have a really small
But you get the feel of it. You get the feel of how the game is supposed to work from the base game, and I think that's what the starter set is supposed to do.
And they did do the same thing with X-Wing, right? X-Wing got a single X-Wing and 2 TIE fighters, and that works for like
you can
2 or 3 battles.
You can teach yourself the system, and now you know if you want to go further or not.
But I think it's important for people to realize I don't think many people will be satisfied with this.
Well,
if you get this and you like this, you will want more.
Yeah.
And if you get it and you don't like it, well, then you don't like it.
Yeah.
So you will not buy just this, I think, at all.
If you like it, no. But if you don't like it, you won't. And now you'll be able to sell it off. So I don't have a problem with that. My main thing about the box was the dice, and that they just didn't. And this is something that FFG unfortunately is becoming known for.
Yeah, I just don't ever remember it being not enough for one person.
They're going to offer the dice packs. They're going to offer the extra measuring sticks and all that other kind of stuff. And so I get it. It's what they do, but I just don't like it.
Now at the time of this launch, if I look correctly, you can also get the snow speeders, which Sam has here. You can get the ATST. These are the 2 big things you can get. They also have extra of the troop sets that come in this set, the speeder bikes, the ATRT for the rebels, and then a few other things. I think snow troopers and General Veers are going to be out there.
I think so.
Which is important because the game centers around your commander, and right now you get Luke versus Vader.
Right.
So you got Veers, and then they have Leia, who will also be a commander. And I think all this stuff is being released pretty close to launch.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff you can get, but of course with the Star Wars universe, they can expand this for a really, really long time.
Yes, they can. And I will say this, that putting these bigger models together was really fun because you have a lot of options to put them together. You can have the flaps come up, these brake flaps, or you can glue them down. So I was able to kind of work with this and make it look like it was banking with this flap coming up. This guy was totally positionable. You didn't have to glue anything together to begin with. You could pop them together, put them in the position that you want him to do. He was fully positionable.
Could I glue his feet down and then just move him around and not glue the other stuff?
He would probably be kind of like a clump at that point because they wouldn't actually hold the weight of the model unless you glue them, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
I don't think. But so I had a lot of fun with these models and positioning that way and so forth and so on. So the bigger models are really fun to put together. This ATRT is one of the walkers that comes in the base game, so he was also fun to put together too. These are good models. I will give them that. There was a couple of quirks about them that are really not even worth mentioning because they're probably more personal than anything else, but this was a fun batch of models to put together.
All right, enough about the components. Let's talk about the game. The game, first of all, it's hard to subtract the veneer of Star Wars on this, right? But we'll try to do that briefly and just go to the mechanisms. There's a combat card system where you each play a card, and you have 6 rounds, which, by the way, really like the 6-round rule.
Yep, really liked it too.
I actually like the combat card thing. And I like the way the leaders and activating units and the random units, that's a cool concept. And of all the things in the game, I thought that was the most interesting, unique mechanism. There's a lot of mechanisms in the game, but I recognized them from other systems. That felt somewhat different. I don't believe I've seen that before.
Well, I also liked the random chit pull of what unit you
Oh, no,
can
that's what I'm
activate
saying. I'm
next.
including that. I like that system.
That was also very cool because a lot of miniature games, you would have guys that would just simply activate all of their biggest, heaviest, nastiest units first, and then, oh yeah, everything else goes. You can't really do that in this game unless you're choosing those two big ones on the units that you're able to activate with that command card. But then everything else is kind of a randomly determined. I like that. That makes a little bit of a fog of war thing happen there.
Combat's pretty quick. You attack, you roll dice, the opponent rolls defense. Someone who plays 40K, that's a kind of a nice change instead of rolling a hit. Rolling to pierce armor, you know? Then
right.
Saving and all that. No, there's 2 rolls basically, and I haven't figured out the stats on all the rolls, but it has a very. I played a lot of X-Wing. It has a lot of similarities to the X-Wing combat, honestly, for me.
I would agree with that.
So again, it's not anything really groundbreaking there, except that they have different colors of dice rather than dice with numbers that many other miniature games do. Mm-hmm. I like the army building. Again, it's very similar to X-Wing, where you'll take a unit and I'll add another stormtrooper to it, or add different weapons. And the Sam, even for some of the models, has WYSIWYG, where you can replace the guns on them. I think for the model in here, right?
Yeah, these all
That's
have
why I have this bag here.
3. Like this one has 3 attachments that you can add onto it.
Sam and since they just poke in and out, this is a nice change from other miniature systems where you had to glue them on. I used to buy those metal magnets.
Earth magnets, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually thinking about doing that. If I keep this, I don't know if I am or not.
Yeah, well, that's actually the thing we come to, right? It's a 60 to 90 minute game. Well, I guess we've been playing shorter games because that's what's in the base box.
Correct.
You play the big, long game, it's going to be a 2-hour game for sure, because you have a whole lot more units to activate.
Yeah, you're going to be activating more. Rounds are going to take longer.
So while I said when you look at the game without the veneer of Star Wars, it's impossible to do so, because that's what's going to attract people to the game. You're coming to see Luke and Vader in a game, and everyone else, like, when Wookiees come into this, I mean, I'm going to want to see how that works, right? You know, I want to see a squad of Wookiees on the battlefield.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, that they roll 1 dice in range and then 200 dice in close combat.
200.
I think it's a little odd to have Vader leading an army versus Luke.
Well, it never
I know
happens.
they had to do that because that's going to sell this game.
Right.
And Vader feels pretty stinking powerful.
Yeah, not end of Rogue One powerful, but pretty close.
Well, he's also walking across a battlefield.
Yes.
If he was in a corridor, I think he
when we
beat him.
say walking, we mean walking.
Yeah, Vader's pretty slow.
He is taking a leisurely stroll through the battlefield.
So with all this in mind then, right, it's Star Wars, it's a miniatures game. Where do we end up on it? I'll go first because I'm not a miniatures gamer. So as a board gamer, this is something that I'm going to pass on for me keeping my collection or playing in the future much. Not because I don't like it though, but because it requires you to put the miniatures together, and that's not something I'm that interested in. I mean, Sam put these together, so that was very helpful, but I don't want to glue things and such. That's just not where I'm at in my hobby. Also, this is going to require you to get a decent amount of stuff, and I'm always going to be tempted to get more. And it's not inexpensive. This is, I think, an $80 game, I think, you know, which, again, for the miniatures you get in it, it's still cheaper than, let's say, Games Workshop and their stuff.
Well, no, that's about on par with Games Workshop.
Okay.
Yeah, because the Games Workshops are starting to come down in their prices slightly. So,
but it's still not going to be cheap if you want a big army.
No, and it never will be if you're talking about miniatures games. It just miniatures gaming is not inexpensive.
Right, and so that's where I'm coming from. When I look at the game itself, though, it's okay. I don't feel like, wow, I've never seen that before, except for command cards. That was interesting. But it's okay. But it does let me play my Star Wars stuff on the battlefield. And even though I said I probably wouldn't get more into this, if Sam came and said, hey, I have some snowspeeders and some Wookiees and Boba Fett, I'd be like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll play it. Right, because that theme is so powerful. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I've always wanted to. If I was a teenager or in college, I would buy the crap out of this game.
Ooh.
I mean, I would. I would be buying units after units after units after units, because this would blow away Warhammer 40K, because I don't care about the theme of Warhammer 40K.
Yeah.
I care about this theme. So I think they've done a good job at bringing Star Wars to a miniatures game. Not my necessary cup of tea. So I'm giving this a thumbs up, tentatively realizing, of course, that I'm not going to really get into the system But I think it's an interesting, you're not unique, I was about to say, it's not unique, but an interesting, fun, see Star Wars in a battlefield. There's a lot of Star Wars games out there. This is going to be compared to Imperial Assault a lot, which is a smaller tactical game, which I like better because it feels more contained to me, and I don't have to go and set this stuff up and figure out terrain and all that jazz. So let's see what Sam thinks now.
Well, you do kind of have to worry about terrain in Imperial Assault. It's just more of a board game feel and liking about.
Right, that's where I'm coming from. That's what I'm.
That's true. No, this is definitely. I will not. Here's the thing, okay, and I'm being almost diplomatic here. I don't think that this is going to step on the toes of Imperial Assault fans, because I don't think that Imperial Assault, a skirmish campaign game, is going to encroach too much upon this. My wariness comes into what's going to keep people continuing to buy this game when there are so many Star Wars miniatures out there. They already, I know the cards, but I don't know. I guess so. That's my only hang-up. That's my only question that I have about the life of this game, is that there are so many other miniatures out there. You might be able to get away with just buying the base box and then supplementing that with everything else that you already have. I wouldn't agree with doing that, but I can see where people would want to do it.
You know what I would do is, if I was playing this game, I would buy all the stuff, and then I would look and see if there were cheap painted plastic miniatures, and then you would sit there and go, those are not as good as miniatures, and I'd be like, yeah, but I painted them. I mean, I painted them, I bought them at the store already painted.
I bought them already, yeah. Well, that's my only hang up about the system. As far as how the game plays, it is really fun. It isn't this convoluted look at paragraph 13 underneath point 5 to see what my sergeant does in this particular situation. It's really simple kind of combat, but it still gives you that feeling of more than a skirmish. It's a battle. It's not just a couple of units fighting each other, even when it is only just a couple of units fighting each other. So that's a really cool thing, and it's cool when a miniatures game can do that. It gives you that broader epic feel, and I think that's what Star Wars Legion does. I do have some hang-ups about it, and I've already mentioned them, and I'm not all in, I guess you could say. The miniatures gaming market is such a crowded market right now. There are so many games out there that are vying for our attention.
But this does have a strong IP. I mean, like the strongest you can get.
It does have a very strong IP, and I get that, and kudos to them for seizing the day, so to speak. But does it have the legs? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. The production quality is top. The gameplay is very fun. You know, we wish we had more dice in the base game, but you know, what can you do? They've done very well, I'll put it that way. So as far as thumbs up are concerned, I'm going to give it 1.5 thumbs up, because I'm kind of in the same boat as Tom. We have so many games that we have to review. I can't see myself carving out a whole lot of time to be able to come back to this as often as it would need to be, but...
You're saying I can keep this?
No. And notice how I didn't pause there for a second. Yeah, no, I really did enjoy putting together the models. I think the models are going to be great. I'm thinking very hardly about painting them, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to or not. But at the same time, this is good. I just don't know if it's going to have the legs.
Alrighty, well that's our review of Star Wars Legion. Definitely one to research and look at, and we'll probably hear more about it in the future.
Yep.
Until next time, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Sam Healy. See you on the flip side, folks.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.